Exactly. Then you can just boot them away. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and load on into the Rift for our second game of the night. And see on the blue side. Of course, sponsor please. Coming in on the red. We'll refer to them as the law.
Oh, I just got it. That's why they have to pick Caitlyn.
She's... Boom! Mind explosion. Expanding mind meme. Oh my goodness. There you go.
They're
Demon's
like
the sheriff in town. That's why they're putting all these resources onto Demon
goodness.
with, you know, the John on that.
They are so many steps ahead of us.
You still even see here, Dream is still running that Aftershock. So opting to still play with that playstyle, not look for extra damage in the rooms.
Yeah, so opting for that would be a little bit interesting to see how the Aftershock value compares to its previous nerfed self. Whether or not this changes the lane dynamic very much at all. Again, so we did talk a little bit about this cleanse choice from the Victor, and I'm quite happy to see the Victor did opt to go for that. It's a little bit more safety, and this is kind of the situation that we were expecting if they do opt to go for the lanes. Now I would say that it's probably better for the Jace lane swap with the Lissandra, because Lissandra doesn't gain as much benefit from trying to find that lockdown onto the Victor.
See here, we'll see if TNC actually opt to go for a little bit of a late invade. They're already spotted out here, so Law could turn this one around. It's going to be a 4v3. Flag's going to come out. Double knockup is there, but they are still aggressing here. And then a rotation on over. Now a 3v3 in the jungle. Bit of a skirmish. Could look at this being a walkaway here from Law, and they have to give up the pressure here toward this red buff. They might still look for this play, though, because look, Burst is a little bit low as far as jungle goes. That's not what you're looking for. Smite toss-up. It's going to go in favor of Burst, and now Law have to look to escape. Burn is there onto Atsu. Still getting that damage there. Still no Summoner Burn, so he's going to be able to keep the flash, but not the start they were looking for.
What an incredibly aggressive play coming from TNC, and ignoring the fact that they spotted out, just moving right in, looking to try and pick up their red buff, and that's going to set the Gragas ahead, right? The Jarvan wants to pick up this red buff, wants to look for a couple fights against the Gragas while he's still weak, and that removes that opportunity for them.
Oh no!
Now
top lane, you gotta assume Burst is going to be nearby here, so JLC forced to have to burn that flash immediately, and Burst, 2 minutes into the game, is already causing a lot of mayhem.
A lot of time up in the top side, so that's going to be a little bit of an issue for Burst if he wants to try and have more agency around the game. By spending so much time around top side, he's going to end up finding himself in a difficult position where he wants to try and farm up, but at the same time he doesn't have that kind of wave clear that some other champions might have, and it's going to just give the opportunity to Jarvan to reclaim a red buff for himself.
Here, nice early push at least coming in from Law in response to that aggression. On top of that, it's an Alistar. What are you going to be able to do? Burst is just all over the place. Not close enough, though. HZZ can just easily walk down toward the lane. There isn't much follow-up. But you still see TNC looking to go around places. Burst is still looking to cause mayhem. And he actually defends the red buff at the same time, because you did see Atsu try to come on over, pop the bloom, and then got over to safety.
What is going on? The junglers right now have 84 CS at 3.5 minutes. Neither side is really looking to farm very much. They just want to go in for these aggressive jungle plays, looking to try and get a catch on the opponent. They're totally disregarding this yet.
Top that, there's not going to be a red buff for Atsu for the first round of the Rust when they come up through the game. It was only able to even out on the Scuttle Crab, so it's going to be a 3-buff start coming out from Burst. See whether or not he can translate that, though, into more pressure. He's already gotten the summoner down on the Vladimir up the top lane, but push him like this, it's pretty hard to get rid of the Vladimir, especially now he's level 4. He has access to the pool. It's going to be pretty hard just to get him in jungle.
Yeah, so this is a little bit towards why the Vladimir is able to avoid having to go for a defensive summoner spell. I do want to go a little bit towards the kind of win conditions that we are now facing from both sides. Especially since TNC, you know, we kind of had a weird conversation about how Law's champion picks didn't exactly make sense at the point of time. But as we start watching the game, I think it's important to recognize, you know, these are the certain win conditions that they have. One of them being, don't let the Gragas just interrupt your jungle this much. But, you know, regardless of that, it does come to a point where they have to try and scale up to the point that the Vladimir, the Victor are able to decently do damage, and that's really where the wave clear comes in. If they're able to wave clear against the pushes coming in from TNC, then everything's fine. So on TNC side, the important part for them is to go for the dives to try and force them and give them no room to breathe whatsoever.
A nice trade coming out. You still see Burst is contesting every single jungle camp in Hatsu's jungle.
Oh man.
He isn't really getting much. He's able to keep trading like 1-for-1 when it comes to the jungle creeps, but still, look
he
at
has
this.
to be mad.
On top of this now, because of that nice trade that came out earlier, the Vladimir is almost in range of a dive if that explosive shock actually lands.
Life on the edge, Vladimir almost finds himself in the life or death situation there. Won't be too much of an issue. Meanwhile, down the bot side, Lucian is in quite a stable position. Looks like he has a biscuit, so might have opted for the inspiration. That's quite interesting. Interesting choice and interesting build path going in for Lucian. Means no gathering storm, no late game scaling damage there.
I'm actually interested to see what he would be running as his secondary, because he's got the list, but I'm trying to think what else would be good in the lane when it comes to.
Yeah,
it would be crazy. It wouldn't be taking too much.
Maybe Cosmic Insight? Maybe
possibly, yeah. Get some extra CD in there.
Yeah, either Cosmic Insight or War Potion? Potion 1?
Yeah, no, I thought Potion was in the same one as the Fist.
Oh,
so
right.
I don't think you can take that.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure. So that's quite an interesting game. I might have to go back after this and go and take a look at what the
Just take a look and be like, did he really take? That's an ult coming out from HCC. Just looking to go back, it seems too, because he's out of it.
It'd be quite easy for Lissandra to deal with this wave and just try and push it out. Meanwhile, we can already see the Alistar pushing forward up the river, getting a little bit of vision, getting a little bit of control to the speed. That is a little bit aggressive by himself, though, and that could be punishable if they didn't already kind of have a general idea of where the Jarvan was.
That Jarvan is going to be up toward his red buff. He'd likely at least trying to clear that one out. Predator is already now accessible for Burst. They pick up the boots immediately on that first back, as well as complete the first component of his jungle item. So he's still feeling pretty confident when it comes to this matchup, and will likely hit level 6 before that. The only issue is all his lanes are mainly pushed up. The only one he might have an option for is HCZ if he tries to clear out the waves too fast.
Meanwhile, their first dragon spawning up is going to be the Infernal Dragon. Places quite a bit of priority around the bot side, so both teams now have to generally watch out for what happens around here. Again, Burst has just been absolutely messing with the Jarvan here.
Burst is coming up. Keeps his JLC. A little bit of damage. Tries to trade on back, but Carlos is able to get back to safety. Burst is still around. Going to pick up the Krugs, get a little bit more gold for himself. Don't think he'll have enough for level 6, but that's still a lot of pressure being exerted here toward the top side. Just trying to shut down this pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. The Jarvan is placing a lot of pressure. The J4 is placing a lot of pressure, but it's definitely not pressure. Wow, a little bit over aggressive.
Okay. So for JLC, not what he was looking to do, is that's going to be first blood going on over to this. Jace was had the safety there. And it absolutely, that was great. Because it's such a delay to get back your health off that ultimate. At least Law, realizing that jungle is going to stay up there the entire time, might as well pick up this Infernal.
Yeah, exactly. You could see the dollar signs popping into the eyes of the battery at that point, because there's no way that he's going to be able to get the healing off from his ultimate in time. So the only thing he can do is try and look for the damage to burst out the Gragas. But you have to remember, despite the fact that Gragas is going for AP, and look for a little bit more damage, it's still a Gragas.
So they're trying to go for the body slam. It was safe at this point, but just kept going.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be our first kill of the game just after 8 minutes. 1,000 gold lead here for TNC. Trying to see our first components of our items coming on through. So for Dre on Lucian, gonna be that Bork. Already has the Cutlass and the 2 daggers. Some extra attack speed. Lost Chapter coming in for the stream. Of course, Ludens or possibly a different item. And then HUZ, I think that's already the second upgrade.
very early upgrades coming from the Victor, being able to farm so much, I feel like there's very little pressure around this mid lane, and I don't quite understand why. At first, you know, it's was a very interesting strategy. So Burst coming in, placing so much pressure around the enemy jungle, around his cover part. You're like, yeah, you know, that makes sense. You know, you want to deny the Jarvan this early gang potential that he has with his flag trap. Right, so that's going to be something I want to try and deny. But after a while, it just becomes a point of, why? Why are you doing this?
Because at that point, too, you're not applying pressure yourself.
Exactly.
You're just trying to prevent the opposing jungler. You're really expecting your lanes to actually get ahead. That might be the case up in this top lane, because now JLC has to play pretty safe in this matchup. Actually swapping on over to the heal as well as the summoner. He does have that spell book.
Yeah, so you have this idea that, okay, you know, I can allow my teammates to be the ones trying to carry the game for me, but the issue comes now. Raw actually has a pretty decent scaling competition. This is something that we've been constantly harping back to. They need to scale up, and the fact that TNC are just allowing them to free farm and just give them this time and space to farm back up, the fact that they're just constantly harassing the Jarvan farm, not exactly sure the reason for.
There. Got Burst nearby. They actually spot out Azuz. Oh, gets the flag drag. The animation pulls him through. Doesn't have to burn the flash, so a nice little break there coming out, but they're still forcing this Jarvan to have to back off, and that's going to allow Burst to have 2 levels on top of it. And maybe try and go for the kill here on JLC, because guess what? Coming down from the mid lane, it's Z-Dream with the roam. Sure, you got the Hemo play coming out, but it won't be enough. Gets a bit more of a heal. Smite is still there, gets to safety. The dive is there. Underneath the tower, that's the second kill going on to the Jace. In response, though, we have HZZ, wants to try and pick up a kill for himself. Z-Dream goes down extremely low. Body Slam's gonna connect, gets out of there with the flash and the cleanse, gets back to safety. Kua is upgraded now. Azuz coming back from the base, turns this one around. It's gonna be a 2-for-1 in favor of Law.
Incredibly over-aggressive play coming in from TNC. Oh, bot side, though.
Hey, that level 6, we were waiting for it. It finally showed here. They're able to pick up a kill now onto this Lucian.
So I have to go back up to the top side because that was an absolute mess. It starts off with an overly aggressive Gragas pushing forward, almost gets the kill on the jump. So I have to give him credits for that one. So he finds a good opportunity to find here, almost gets the kill. The flag and drag was so well timed there. Barely saved.
He got saved by a Krug. A Krug just risked his life. He gave his life to save him from that Q coming out from the Jace, but they kept on going.
Yeah, and we have Vladimir here, and that's just saves so much time. So JLC just saves so much time coming in, uses the Hemo play and everything, keeps them around long enough for the Victor to make a rotation play up top side. I feel like if Victor was there a little bit earlier, this fight could have gone very, very different.
And it makes me question too, because we expect HZZ to be the one that has the lane priority. You're on a Victor, you have the upgrade on your laser, you should be able to push in that mid lane. Didn't matter though, because we go back on over to this top lane, and oh, this is cyberbullying at this point, as once again, that's now the 3rd kill for Ikaros.
Yeah, this is basically the entire pressure around the game has been placed onto Vladimir, and I feel like this is something that we weren't expecting as much. I was talking a little bit about how the Victor was probably going to be the target of focus. They changed their mind entirely. Placing pressure around the top side has turned out incredibly well for them.
Well, that's the issue. You put the Vladimir into a long lane in the top lane. There's a lot of accessible paths for that Gragas. We keep seeing it from that Tri-Rush area to just keep on going forward. And you take a look at the mini-map, too. They have the top side lit up like a Christmas tree. You got 6 wards, a lot of wards going into the jungle, also to spot out this Jarvan.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
First brick gold, gonna go in favor of TNC as they now sit 3,000 gold ahead. 2 kills up at 13.5 minutes. And now you got your first items also coming off. You got the Borg for the Lucian, you got Ludens for the Lissandra, and now you got the Yomus for that Jace. Law, they're gonna try and trade back for a second Infernal Drake, but that pressure from TNC is now starting to make its way down toward the bot side of it.
Versus finally seeing that, you know, top lane isn't everything. And Versus finally decided that, you know what, I'm going to go bot side, I'm going to show my bot lane some love. The fact that they've managed to win this lane outright by themselves is a great showing and a great sign for things to come. But it definitely could be said that if Burst had been around the bot side, there were many opportunities for an easy dive onto easy yanks that would set them up ahead. The fact that now they're going to get this Infernal Dragon for free is a little bit disheartening for Maul.
Up in the top lane. It doesn't even matter. Doesn't need the Gragas at this point. Can look for the dives underneath the tower. The flash is going to be burned by JLC, but guess who's coming? It's Z-Dream. Azut is there too, so it is enough to force them to back off. Again, Summoner down and another dive in the mid lane. Maybe a little too aggressive because the Cataclysm gonna come dunking on down. Z-Dream gets drained back in by the gravity field, and that's gonna be 2 kills. Now the Alistar underneath tower. What's going on? That's a reverse dive at this point. Now Jace, though, gonna re-enter the fight. Easy John Ultimate's going to be able to separate them once again, and Law is able to reset as they now are able to punish the aggression coming out from TNC with 2 kills.
The fact that Alistar was able to jump in under turret, fight against 3 people by himself and not get punished is absolutely insane. The Jarvan having to burn his flash, the Ignite did come out from the Alistar. That's the one good part that he got out of that very forced engage coming in. And the fact that they are ahead enough in the Jace, in the Alistar, that they can force engages like this is a pretty big sign for things to come.
And we're starting to see what those item changes really don't even get to look in bot lane, because once again, it is just a slaughter coming out from Ikaros. That's now his 4th kill of the game.
I mean, usually, you know, you go into matchups like this, you could expect to see an earlier execution challenge, right? But at this point, there's no need
You
for
don't
that.
need it.
You kill him before he can get any healing off.
Coming back down to his bot lane again. We see what the item changes do. Demon, it feels really bad to be a Caitlyn right now. You're just on that breaking point for your first item. You got a little bit of attack speed, but it's not a completed item. That's why Storm Razor just felt so good. It felt like you just had that nice power spike available early. Now is forced to have to back off from this tower and is going to give it up. So now that is going to be the 2nd turret of the game being taken here by TNC, and that should exert a little bit more of a gold lead, even though they made that mistake in mid lane down to 2,500.
Yeah, and this picking up this turret isn't even like the biggest advantage for them, because the fact is, Burst barely plays around the bot side. The only time he's ever come bot side was from the 2nd dragon, and the fact that he wanted to die the 2nd Infernal Dragon. If it had been like something like Cloud Dragon, I'm pretty sure Burst would have just totally ignored it, moved up towards the top side, try to dive the mid lane or something. Right now, what's more important is that they keep this bot wave pushed out, and then they play around the top side as they have been.
You hear TNC gonna go ahead and clear out that vision. They come on through. Control wards here and there, and Law has to let this go, because if they try and contest this, they'll just get taken down. You heard the Yomu's ready. He's ready to keep on diving with this Jace. It is impressive.
This isn't even a matter of the junglers coming in. This is just
it's too far gone at this point.
This is just Jace. This is just Jace things.
Just Jace when you got your, your traded, as well as another lethality item. It's not a good feeling. And now and then on top of this too, you now deny all this vision. Law have no control up toward this top side of the map, and this is 2 minutes before Baron even spawns. This is stuff you would expect to see teams start doing at 30 minutes when they're trying to set up for a Baron play. Already TNC are looking to keep accelerating this game before Law can even scale.
Yeah, Dragon comes out in a minute and a half too, so multiple neutral objectives spawn around the same time, and it makes things very difficult for Law to try and respond to, because now they have to deal with the fact that there is a Baron on the map, there is a Dragon on the map, and if they go for one, it's very possible that TNC is going to kill.
A tornado coming through the jungle, not going to connect on anything. TNC are looking to lay a trap, going for a possible dive here in the mid lane. That's still a 1st tier tower that stands for Law. That's their only amount of control they have left on this map, but it's likely them going to have to give this one up, because if you take a look really quickly at those gold leads, majority of that gold lead is on this Jace. Other lanes, kind of close. I say kind of. There's actually a decent lead coming out from HZZ. He's 1,500 ahead, but then there's Dre on Lucian, who's 1,000 ahead in the bot lane.
Yeah, I do want to say that the victim of having that extra 1,500 is quite beneficial for him to get these early purchase upgrades, but going into a couple of the components that he has for items right now, sitting in this Lost Chapter is basically just a map, right? So the fact is, he has 1,500 extra, but that 1,500 goes into the Lost Chapter, which isn't going to translate into as much value as all this seen from the Sakura right now.
You had a little bit of cooldown reduction in there too, but until you upgraded it to likely going to be a Ludens, you don't feel like you still have all that damage. Sure, you're upgraded. Sure, all your abilities do some extra stuff, but they don't do any damage.
Pre-particles and special effects are more than enough to upgrade your items.
See, you get cosmetics. Yeah. That's the secret to the augment. It is going to be another Infernal Drake too, so this is rather important for Law. If they can try and contest this, they can maybe fight their way back. If they're able to secure it, they get a little bit extra damage and makes up for some of this gold deficit. But they're going to have to go against TNC, and guess what? Jace is no longer split pushing in top lane. He's coming down to these fights, and that's the big issue for Law.
You can see as well the fact that JLC hasn't got the sweeping lens. He walks past 3 control wards on his way down, right? And he's totally spotted out. He has absolutely no element of surprise. It's just going to be a very easy choice for TNC to work with right now. Now they've lost vision of the Vladimir, they're like, okay, maybe it's time for us to reset. We need to figure out where our opponents are. We need to find out where the danger is.
Well, you have to bring down this Vladimir because you don't have teleport available. He can't answer the split push in the top side and also be there for the team when they're going for an objective like this. Dragon, Prima has to flash away from the gravity field. Predator is popped here by first. Dragon is started, comes down to about 50% health. Lucian also nearby onto the side. That's a flash on forward though, coming out from JLZ. And Law, they're able to secure the Infernal. Can TNC though look to punish?
In the meanwhile, TNC continue to pick up this top lane. He's talking about punishing. They're not going to be able to get the fight, but they will be able to get a couple of objectives up the top side. Losing on the Infernal Dragon, I mean, it is a stat buff. No doubt it's an incredible stat buff and it does a lot of work. But there is a limit to what it does, and it's almost definitely better that they are starting to break open the base and tear apart this top lane, since it forces Law to have to go in to deal with the top wave when the Barons start up.
And even here for JLC, opting in for an all-out, because we saw that happen down toward that Dragon fight. Tried to flash in with the Hemo Plague, also pop his item activate, the charged item coming in from the new AP. That was a Justice during Freeze season. Not even going for a Proto Belt at this point. But you feel like it would be just a lot better if you're looking to waste it.
Yeah.
Law with 2 Infernal Drakes, but they do sit 3,500 gold behind TNC. It's 21.5 minutes. Now the dance around Baron can start here for TNC if they really want to, especially with that amount of pressure that's been exerted here from the top lane from that push. Icaro still has teleport when it comes to these fights. He's going to be able to get there before the Vlad.
Honestly, I hardly ever see
He hasn't had to use it.
Yeah.
He just keeps killing them in lane. He just, oh, I'm just going to walk back. There's no point for me to teleport. I'm not losing anything.
Yeah, so it's a very easy call for the Jace, and the Jace has had hardly any reason to even have to consider using teleport across a map lanes. Most of the time, it just comes down to his teammates being able to easily outfight them.
Brandon, it's a 3,600 gold lead on that Jace right now. There's just so much power loaded into his Jace. If they're able to catch him out here on the side of Law, there's maybe the opportunity they can take some of these fights, but they have to be careful. Predator is already popped here by Burst as he's looking to just try and find one member that's caught out from Law. Maybe find a couple here. They did spot him out in that bush. Flag's going to reveal 3 in the bush, and they decide, okay, maybe we don't want to fight that.
Boshing around this Baron now, we do continue to see the Jace moving down to the bot side, and the split push strategy is working so very well with TNC. There's very little that Law is able to do in the form of dealing with the Jace. Actually, I feel like there is an argument to see Victor be the one to use Jace, right? Just use the death rate to go and clear out the waves and try and prevent Jace from being able to have more of an effect than he already currently does. But at the same time, Vladimir does have decent wave clear, so if it's not working for the Vladimir, it's unlikely to be working for the Victor, and then that's a lot of your damage.
TNC just continue here, steal away the red buff. Honestly, nothing that can really happen here on the side. He does put down the control ward. It gets instantly cleared though. They lose out on this red buff, and they lose out again on this pressure. And it's like you mentioned, Edge and Knight coming out here for Ikaros can really look to just continue the dives.
Oh
even look at that damage. Brings him down to about 20% with just one combo, and that isn't even the enhanced Q.
Means just Vladimir had to go for the heal at that point. The panic heal trying to survive against the Jace is difficult. This is a difficult point for them.
He's also going to likely build a Dust Blade too. Like, it's just full lethality coming out. We haven't even seen him join in on these sieges where he's just going to be looking to poke these squishy members. He gets just one charged Q onto that Caitlyn, onto that Victor. They're going to get taken down to half health.
Yeah, it's an easy point away from him too. So the only issue I could foresee for Jace right now is that his own mana cost might be his downfall, right? Everything else is inconsequential to him. You send 2 people to fight the Jace, it's very likely that Jace is going to kill 2 people. And talking about mana costs.
See, they don't have to worry about that, because the amount of pressure they've now gone themselves on the map, all this vision, they can just take the blue buff. There's no issue. It doesn't matter. He'll have all the mana he wants.
Never punish.
And that is just, it's just a list of concerns coming out from Law. So with the amount of pressure that TNC do have available, you'd like to see them start pushing that further and further, or try and force Law to have to make some decisions here. Because Law, as long as this game is still going, as long as that Nexus still stands, in the back of their head, they're like, we're still scaling. We're still looking to level up. We can go for the late game. We have the team fight available, and that has to be in the back of the minds of TNC.
That's the first Baron definitely would be a tilting point for Law. Currently, as they are, they're like, okay, we can just afford to scale up. There isn't that much pressure on the Baron. But as we start approaching this 30-minute mark, it becomes a much more real option for TNC to just say, hey, you know, Baron's an easy option for us. We have the damage. We have enough crowd control to stop them from getting into the pit if we do start.
Here. Some vision coming out from TNC. They want to try and advance that ward line. There's still some vision, though, into the pit, and Law are happy with that. And they're just going to go ahead and sweep her out their own jungle. Deny that from TNC. And again, they're just going to keep going back and forth around this red buff pit. Maybe they're going to try and go for a pick here themselves. First just walks up, doing a little bit of a fake, seeing who's going to be nearby, who's going to answer. Demon also comes on over. This is a nice point, though, for this game. We talked about the items feeling like a lackluster. Now you have an Infinity Edge. Now you have a Static Shiv. On top of that, too, you got 2 Infernal Drops. So this Caitlyn does do damage.
Yeah, that's true. Caitlyn does do damage, but can she out-damage a 3-item Jace?
If they're not in the same lane, that's the key difference here.
That's true. So right now, the Caitlyn really has one off. The Caitlyn cannot deal with the Jace by herself, and she cannot deal with her Jace if the Jace gets into the backline. So pretty obvious strategy for Law. Don't let the Jace get to the backline.
Harder said than done sometimes. We
That's
do have a John ultimate, so it's rather easy. That's why you're just looking to see here from Law. They want to cover their flank angles. They want to make sure that they have vision behind them in case there's a possible teleport that could come out and really blow open a fight. Going for a flank play. You don't usually say a Jace can just go ahead and dive the backline, but he's so far ahead that even if he died, he gets so much damage that TNC would likely clean up after.
That's true. All he needs to do is just dish out damage.
Oh! Again, very aggressive plays, and that can be punished here by Law if they actually rotate other members of the map, but then that opens up this Baron that's a possibility for TNC.
Yeah, so Baron is a big objective for TNC. They should be going for the Baron. They don't necessarily need it, but once they do, Vladimir has no effective way of dealing with the wave up against the Jace. And with the Jace now being an unstoppable pushing monster, it becomes much more important for Law to look for an engagement on this 4v4 onto a flank that could potentially see them beat TNC. But TNC have the advantage in basically everything, right? The victor is ahead, but that's about it.
Predator is popped here. HCZ realizes, okay, so there's a Gragas in our jungle. Don't go in there, guys. Gets back to safety. TNC continue just getting board down. They might be able to get a nice catch here. Still lots of shred. The culling comes out. Interrupted, though. Nice tornado coming out from Cheese. Prevents the Summoners having to be blown here by Azuke. But guess what? Because that Jarvan was chunked so low, they're just going to go ahead and start up this Baron. No vision in the pit yet from Law. This is still a pretty slow Baron take. That damage, though. Cheese almost getting one shot there by one quick Q coming out from the Jace. Some nice damage comes over the wall. That's going to force a reset on this Baron.
Almost down the Baron, down the fall, down the beach. Do not opt to finish it. They didn't have Lissandra in place. Lissandra wasn't able to come joining. They're not willing to run this 50-50 game.
Oh, that's mainly just from this Victor. Now he's got the Loon's Echo. He's starting to get a little bit extra damage when it comes to those lasers. And Demon was nearby, and that's enough to force TNC to say, okay, there is a chance we could possibly throw. It's almost feeling like they're not playing too safe. They're looking to set up the perfect play that might never happen.
Sometimes you just have to go for the play. You can't afford to keep waiting for something to happen. You can't hope that the opponent makes a mistake. TNC at this point are playing things a little bit too slow. They're not willing to ramp up to a point where they take full advantage of their current strength.
For them, they're thinking about the worst possible case scenario, that they might end up losing a fight. Because you take a look on the map, there's still a ton of freestanding gold in these turrets that Law can use to come back into this game. And you're starting to approach that mark, you know, 30 to 35 minutes. Those death timers add up quite a bit, and you might just lose an inhibitor off one by a fight. So we have Karos in this bot lane. been living there for the last 5 minutes. Has himself now 300 CS. So Advanced calling yet again. The calling usage here from Dre keeps getting interrupted by Cheese. He's having some really nice tornadoes.
Well, up in the top, I'm on down the bot side. Vladimir continues to face the oppression from the Jace.
This is the issue here for Law now. Now that the Jace is able to keep on just diving in and running away and no one's really pressuring him, he can just look to take these towers. And once again, a decent chunk of damage here on the JLC. He's going to be able to sustain, but now that wave's going to keep crashing in onto that inhibitor tower, and that's pressure now that Law has to deal with on this bot lane while Baron is still available.
The further TNC push Law, the closer they are to picking up this Baron easily. Now on the bot side, JLC is holding on for dear life. There's so many moments where you just think, all right, he's gonna die here. No, wait, here. No, maybe here. He manages to survive most of the time, and I feel like that's actually within the benefit of the Law. The fact that Vladimir has continued to survive time and time again with very little health. They lose this bot lane inhibitor turret. They lose this bot lane tier 2 turret. But it hasn't been that much so far.
And I didn't get to mention this early because I saw Katsu, you're about to see why. Barely any tank stats. It's all damage in that build, and he's just going to get taken down there by just a couple auto attacks and a quick combo. And you mentioned it earlier, you'd like to see this Jarvan go a bit more on the tanky side because there's no true tank, there's no true form of engage for Law now.
And I felt like the point where the Jarvan started becoming irrelevant despite his damage is the point where Law is going to face a major loss.
That is now going to be the Mountain Drake taken here for TNC. And that makes Baron a lot more easier. That extra true damage on your abilities goes a long way.
Well, now, start it up.
We might as well start it up here. Lucian's just going to make his way up from the Dragon Pit. We're going to cut off Law. Atsu still 5 seconds off the rift. It's up to 10,000 health. It's up to Law to somehow find themselves some good poke coming out from their victory to look to stop it. Or TNC wasn't properly juggling the aggro, and Burst took a lot of damage. He has to back off.
Yeah, I feel like that was a little bit of a misplay. I feel like it made sense for the Gragas to tank for the moment, but I definitely feel like the Alistar should have been the one tanking most of that damage and then trying to set a position for Lucian to join in, pick up that Baron, and then look for a little bit more.
So now this gets really ugly for Law. A scenario in which the Jace just dies the backline and maybe you get a kill on him, now gets delayed. Just picked up the GA on top of the 3 lethality items. He's just going to be looking to dive onto the carries, delete them. Sure, he gets taken down, but he's going to be joining the fight again in just a couple seconds.
Yeah, meanwhile, 5,000 gold lead.
5,000 gold lead.
All right. Meanwhile, Vladimir looking to go for this Rabadon. That's a big power spike. Rabadon means that a lot of the AP that Vladimir already had, a lot of the health that Vladimir already had becomes even more health and AP. So this is a good opportunity for the Vlad to start becoming a bit more relevant into the game, especially since we know that Vladimir can basically burst down Gragas. A couple of the squishies can be burst down by Vlad, but I do worry a little bit that champions like the Jace, like the Lissandra, like the Alistar are not gonna face this issue, and if he can't get into the faces of the Gragas and the Lucian, I don't see how he's gonna have any value in this fight at all.
And we talk about mid lane pressure. Finally, they're able to find it themselves, but Karos, he's looking for this flank. This is the opportunity. Connects right onto Cheese, gets the ultimate off, and is able to prevent the Hammer Slam coming through. Extremes looks for the ultimate, but guess what? They're able to find the kill, 2 on a double from the calling from Dre on the Lucian. Now a 5v3. TNC can really look to apply the pressure. Sure, you can scale up the whole time there.
I gotta say, you play bot lane, right?
I do.
Could you feel the passion that Janna had when she flashed in to try and save her AD carry?
Yeah, I did. And then she went down with her. Look, and it feels just as bad.
She tried her best. And that was I actually respect that play, right? So there was a good attempt to try and keep the Caitlyn alive. Demon got a little bit over aggressive. They almost managed to take out the GA from the Jace, and that baited them out. That cost them a massive fight there. They might be able to find a final kill onto the Jace to shut him down.
There it is. Pop is going to be there. Nice bounties claimed, but guess what? You lost your inhibitor in the mid lane, and now possibly your life on top of it as Burst is looking to hunt them down. No ultimate is available. Z-Dreams comes on over, decides to back off here, because the reason here, if TNC looks to keep chasing this Vladimir, the Baron is still available. And guess what? Law with this opportunity, even though they lost their inhibitor, they have to make a quick play here. You get vision down into the pit, and you try and deny TNC from trying to rotate back up here and take an easy Baron.
Right, and TNC now having to regroup, tries to go towards the Baron, but they end up being pushed away by Law. And this is a bit surprising for me. I didn't fully expect them to be able to... I didn't fully expect Law to be able to hold on for this long. I felt like you have quite the strong mid-game aggressive composition. It was quite a straightforward rule. You push out the waves, while Law is busy dealing with the waves, you go get Baron. It's a straightforward two-step plan.
Here, TNC going to rotate back up toward the Baron. They got themselves some control wards. Not a whole lot of vision available for Law. They did get the Scuttle Crab, though. And you often underestimate how great it is to have some movement speed around a Baron pit fight.
Right.
So it's still a bit of a concern there for TNC. They'll look to try and push in that mid lane. Get that super minion to knock onto the Nexus. First is going to go ahead, body slam over the wall.
Significant damage onto the Gragas off of a single death ray. In the meantime, they're looking for a catch on the L-Star, maybe.
Gets that ultimate at least off. See here, Azut, that's extremely aggressive. Gets the Cataclysm. It's pretty much wasted at this point, as the Lucian could just easily dash on through. JLC looked for a kill, but look, almost did no damage to that Lucian because a quick response with the culling, and Predator now popped out here by Burst. That forces Law to have to back off, have to play safe.
Jason, meanwhile, looking for a flank over from the side. Jace still should be looking to try and pick up his inhibitor while the rest of the team stalls the time. A bunch of big spells being used then.
Nice double knockup's going to follow on through. Gravity Field brings in the Alistar, but guess what? It's going to get delayed. Stopwatch is there. They're not even able to finish off. 2 ultimates used for the support. Is it worth it, though? Dre looks to kite on back. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, they're going to go ahead and take the inhibitor. Law have made the decision. They're willing to trade 1 life for the inhibitor. They get themselves 2 kills. They need to get more here. That or start up this Baron. Instead, they back off, and then TNC, they could just rotate back, or they could just stop the backs here, because guess what? Akaros is just going to try and take the base himself. Not able to land the shock blast there, but still, the damage is available. Look to try and backdoor onto the Nexus. He's got so much damage. It's a one-man army in their own base at this point. He's just going to take the Nexus by himself. If he's left on track, Cataclysm will deny him that victory. And TNC, they just got aced.
What on earth was that?
Law are able to hold, but they're down to a single Nexus. They start up this Baron. Unfortunately, this Caitlyn does not have any lifesteal, so this is an extremely risky play.
Full attempt coming in, trying to look for his...
Demon!
Oh my goodness, Demon!
No!
Gets executed! The Alistar coming in now!
Oh no, ultimate was also
Ignite.
used. Ignite, cleanse. You can use whatever you want still. The delay is there, able to turn it around with the enhanced Qs. They'll take down the Alistar. But honestly, it is now chaos. It's mayhem, 10-11 Law. They only got their top turret and their inhibitor, and then the Nexus.
This is what I signed up for, by the way. This is
Welcome to C-Tour, ladies and gentlemen.
This is C-Tour. You know when you have those videos, it's like, this is whatever, right? This is C-Tour. If I don't get to see a Jace go into the enemy base, take out both Nexus turrets, almost kill 2 people, almost end the game by himself, I'm not watching the C-Tour.
Elder Dragon now started here for TNC. Even the culling coming out from Drake. He's looking to speedrun this Elder Drake down. Will do it by himself. No one from Law nearby. That's a 3-stack Elder Dragon. Gonna reset. Gonna go on back. And for Law, now the time is starting to tick. You're at that point that maybe you could take these fights, but you've lost so much on the map. Teleport is still available here. You could easily go in on that control ward in mid lane, just run down toward the base. Law, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place at this point. They try and go for a Baron. The other lanes are going to push into their base, and they're going to get backdoored. If they try and defend their base, Baron's just going to be taken. You're trying to turtle at this point, but I don't know if they can turtle hard enough.
Yeah, it's too much of an issue. If they try and turtle up, Baron gets started up, Baron Power Wave comes in, and you basically just sit and wait to die, because there's no way they're going to be able to defend a Nexus turret that low from a couple of auto attacks. From a Jace, from a Lucian, from a Lissandra. They just dash in, couple shots onto the Nexus, the game's over.
So 40 minutes on the clock here for our second game of the day between TNC and Law. It's got to be an Elder Drake. It's going to be on top of that, the Baron buff. And the push is going to keep on coming in for Law. They have to make their final stand, but they have to wait for this Dragon to, of course, have to differ out here as far as the buff goes. It's still got another about 45 seconds. This push, they'll be able to get a lot of damage onto this tower. And Ikaros will literally just walk into the base and take the Nexus if he isn't left checked. JLC is going to try and respond. He gets taken down extremely low. He's even going to go ahead, uses the stopwatch within the blood pool. But guess what? You got nothing left of your base. You have only the Nexus standing. And TNC, they're going to start closing their fists and just look to end this game.
Last desperate stand coming in from Law, but the burn coming in from the other Dragon buff. The culling firing onto them as well.
And they're just going to get choked out at this point, Brandon. Sure, they can make one last stand. Burst is able to get the knock up. They get themselves the kill. And just like that, they're going to go ahead and finish off the game as TNC are able to take it 11-11, but that kill total does not tell you the story.
Yeah, the 11-11 is really just the number of times that both teams decided that, you know what, I'm going all in. It's just full aggression. But what it doesn't show you is the number of times that Jace forced the Vladimir to recall. Because the Vladimir's screen has to be like constantly red, right? It's like, you know when you get low health and your screen starts flashing red? That's basically the entire game for Vladimir.
On top of that, it was just pools of blood. You couldn't tell if he was actually getting damage or he was using his abilities because he was just getting slaughtered in that top lane. But it all kind of stems back, though, to how Burst was able to get that lane going, though, on the Gragas, of course. We were a little worried that he was camping maybe the top side a little too hard. Luckily, though, his bot lane was getting ahead by themselves. Lysandra, honestly, I never even saw Z-Dreams make a play except for, like, that 30-minute mark because they didn't need to. They were so far ahead.
The thing is as well, because as we look at Burst and the way he was playing the Gragas, yeah, he definitely helped get the lane ahead topside. But the thing is, he didn't necessarily put that much pressure onto Vladimir per se. Just by denying the J4 that much, they basically played a 4v4 and they had faith that their 4v4 was better.
And on top of that, too, we questioned, the build path that was coming in there. That was a full damage Jarvan. Yeah. When your team's already 3 damage, you got a Vladimir, you got a Victor in the mid lane, you got a Caitlyn on top of that. There was no real engage, and the times he tried to go for that Cataclysm engage, he had to just flag drag out immediately because he would have just got shredded down.
Yeah, honestly, at a certain point, he had a couple of kills that came from this Cataclysm, but they were so low that honestly, even an auto attack would have been enough, right? So it really just comes down to the fact that the Jarvan wasn't able to translate building damage into actual effectiveness. So going squishy, going for this aggressive build didn't pay off for him at all because he just almost got bursted out by the Gragas every single time.
On top of that, too, we take a look. We saw that, at least Law, they were able to keep their vision up around them to prevent those gank paths that could come in from the Jace, from the rotation from the bot lane. But once they stopped checking that bot side, that's when Ikaros is like, oh, I can walk through this jungle without being seen. I'll easily come on over. And that was the big turning point there, finally, for Law. It felt like that was what started to seal in the deal as far as the game went, was that one flank play that came out from Ikaros that once he had the GA, too, he could just dive in. He didn't care.
I want to bring in as well something a little bit interesting because we saw 2 games in a very similar fashion. They both picked Jace. They both had they both had an aggressive jungler. They had the Alistar. So in a similar sense, TNC as well as LYB both had a very similar very similar composition. But the way that they went about the games were very different. LYB had a much heavier focus on trying to be aggressive down bot side and trying to get this top lane ahead by itself. And the way that they carried out the game was they managed to snowball so far ahead. TNC, on the other hand, they didn't have that kind of strategy. In fact, I felt like it was a little... It felt dangerous. Like I felt like they were playing on the edge.
Yeah, they were playing on the edge there, but they got rewarded because Law never punished it.
It's a high-risk, high-reward kind of situation because if you get ahead, you saw how far ahead the Jace was, right? So it's obvious that when you manage to actually get a good enough matchup and you manage to find disadvantages, that they keep snowballing on and on. Whereas the way that we saw LYB end off the game so cleanly around the 20-minute mark is really what I would like to see TNC adopt more of and to move towards that kind of playstyle. Because yeah, while this kind of playstyle works against some pretty okay teams, as we start placing against the best of the best, they're going to start seeing themselves in a much difficulty.
Oh yeah, because you're gonna have these more, these more veteran squads that are gonna come out, and they're gonna punish you for this kind of play.
You're not gonna
because there was one point that TNC did find themselves punished for their overaggression. That was when they had those 2 kills go on over to Law when they were setting up against the Baron, because they were just trying to rush. They were just trying to rush down Atsu. And there was a couple times where, they're trying to get that vision, but they didn't respect Law, even though they had that decent gold lead. But when your gold lead's all on one member, you still got to think about the rest of the team.
Yeah, so, and one thing as well, something quite impressive, and I think you mentioned as well, the kind of vision control, the way that they light up the top side of the map. This is something that's been quite interesting to see from the Philippines teams, right? The Filipino teams have come in and they've been able to maintain quite a heavy level of vision around the map.
Show me that damage. 33,000 coming out from Ikaros on the Jace. Pretty far ahead. This is
out, right?
Looking by, but here, you take a look on the flip side. 6,000 damage on your full AD Jarvan.
Yeah.
There wasn't an impact. He was just shut down so early.
So this is quite interesting. Last game we had a 17,000 damage Jarvan at 20 minutes. At 40 minutes he does 33,000. So this is a pretty obvious scaling rate. If you don't do 17,000 damage as Jarvan, and every 20 minutes, you're doing something wrong.
On top of that, it's pretty obvious who our man of the match is going to be. Of course, it's going to be Ikaros on the Jace there. 5, 3, and 4. 81% kill participation. 800 damage per minute. You're feeling pretty good. You're feeling pretty good as a poke champ at that point.
At a certain point, you just kind of felt like Jace didn't even have to, Ikaros didn't even have to try and poke anymore. He just went straight up into the face of the Vladimir, went into hammer form, jumped on him, gave him a couple of quick hits, and then said, all right, you get it, go leave my lane.
Well, that's why I like to comment burst, because the one point that Vladimir could sustain from that damage was the early game, where the damage isn't extreme for the all-ins. But when it came to the late game, we saw it a couple times there. He walked up and auto-attacked him. Yeah. And it took him down to like half health. That's after just the enhanced Q.
That's a straight up eviction notice.
Well, we'll have to see here. So we're gonna go ahead and take a short break, but when we come back, of course, it's gonna be XSW taking on HG. I got my tags all messed up. Yeah. So it should be a good match. So don't go anywhere, guys. C-Tor will be back after this quick break.